The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max WWE Smackdown Live Review for February 14, 2017. Yes, Valentine's Day, and no, we did not do it on Valentine's Day because we were going to do another show, the New Japan show, and I fell asleep watching the New Japan show. So here I am, your host Sean Garmer, with no Paul Leazar because he is doing a work thing. But Gary is here with me, so hey, Gary.
Hey, yeah, it was difficult. The night of love is kind of a difficult night to do podcast on because all that love in the air kind of, makes you rested and all that. So it's okay. At least we're here tonight, and I'm excited about talking about SmackDown because there were some things in this show that I kind of have to love. So we'll keep that theme alive a little bit, even though we didn't do it on the actual Valentine's Day.
I mean, there was mostly things to love about the show, and then there was things not to love about the show. But mostly with SmackDown, it's mostly positive things. So, Bray Wyatt, of course, the new WWE champion after Elimination Chamber, which, of course, if you did not hear us talk about Elimination Chamber, you can do so with our Elimination Chamber extra that we did, so you can go check that out. And of course, the Raw review and the WTM episode 1 of 244, which I still forgot to go change. You guys put 344 on here. Not that I'm looking at it.
Oh, Paul, that's okay. It'll be okay.
I did that once already, so hey, we've all gone through this up once. But yeah, so you have. Wow, I put 0 in that. So, the Bray Wyatt is speaking here as this what you normally get with when somebody becomes the new champion. He comes out, get lots of "You deserve it" chants as he laughs at that. He talks as if Sister Abigail was talking to him. He talks about saying that she never said this would be easy because Sister Abigail always spoke the truth. And so does he, because he knew this day would come. And he promises to sing a melody to everybody. And he's going to, anybody that stands in his way, he is going to destroy them. And so, John Cena comes out. He says that Wyatt has brainwashed the crowd because he shouldn't be getting "You deserve it" chants. Then Cena says he wants his rematch tonight. And AJ Styles comes out. Of course, he never got his one-on-one rematch. He was just put in this match. And so, AJ talks to Cena about jumping the line again because, that's been their beef and all that about Cena shouldn't be getting shots, and AJ, was the champion at that point. Daniel Bryan then comes out and says, hey, how about this? We're going to give you both of your shots in one match. A triple threat match for the WWE Championship. That will be the main event of this show. And I guess we might as well fast forward to that because that, I think, sort of ends that story arc for the rest of with the Wyatts. So this match was the best match on the show. Obviously, the match got the most time. It was a great match. Really enjoyed this. It was really, though, a finisher fest. Really heavy on using the AA and the calf crusher and the Styles Clash and the Sister Abigail it felt like I saw John Cena use the AA like 20 times. Not kidding. I did like him trying to roll into the second AA and then AJ counters it into the the calf crusher, and then they counter it again. And that was kind of cool. But we even had Luke Harper show up during this match as well when Bray Wyatt goes to blow out his lantern, which was actually kind of cool. So they brawled and stuff, and then it was about Cena and AJ for a while. But Bray Wyatt actually winds up pinning John Cena again with his sister Abigail. And Bray Wyatt's still your WWE champion. But man, this was a awesome way to totally knock out SmackDown. But then, of course, at the end, we get very interesting point of view here of where we're going to go. This is how they're going to fill the time in the 7 weeks that they have between now and WrestleMania. Randy Orton comes out and pledges his allegiance to the Master, saying that as long as Bray is WWE Champion, he refuses to face him at WrestleMania. And then Daniel Bryan announces on Talking Smack that they're going to have a Battle Royal next week to determine who the new number one contender is.
Yeah, this is interesting. It really is. And I want to talk about, I think 3 different things to focus on here.
I will say, too, that apparently, according to the rules, Roman Reigns should actually be getting the shot, because according to the rules, the runner-up gets the shot. So I wonder if they're going to bring this up on Raw, or if they're going to let this kind of die and let it be a SmackDown thing.
What do you mean the runner-up gets a shot? The winner's always got the title shot.
Right. But if Randy Orton officially refuses to take his title shot, right? He says, okay, Bray Wyatt's champion, I'm not going up against him. Well, the runner-up, the last person eliminated, would be getting the title shot instead.
Wow, see, I did not know that. Now, has anybody ever done that in history?
I don't think we ever had, because when they've done this before, they've had either that person puts up their title shot at the pay-per-view, like Elimination Chamber, or something weird has happened or something like that, but never that that guy that won just outright said, no, I don't want it, and then they give it to the next guy. So this is going to be interesting as far as, will Stephanie and Mick Foley bring this up, or are they going to let it go?
Yeah, and that's a really big question. And this is really interesting. And I have to say, because I definitely want to kind of focus on this a little bit. I want to talk about 3 different things, but we'll stick here with this particular subject. I think it's really kind of interesting that they did choose to go this way because of the fact that we all have been talking about Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. That's been the big thing, especially for the fact that we keep waiting for Randy Orton to turn. We don't know when, but
that's
we
what's
feel
made this story so great. Is that they keep finding a logical way. This makes sense. Like it's not them just finding some dumb way to have Randy Orton. No, this makes sense, right? Like Randy Orton, if he's going to turn, he really wants it to be a total shock to everyone. Just much like on Raw, where we kind of knew this was coming, right? We knew the Kevin Owens Jericho thing was coming, but not this way. And I think that's what you want from SmackDown, like, not this way, Randy. So, this is an interesting thing about how are they going to have this play out and everything. And it provides intrigue, obviously, because the number one contender, they don't have a pay-per-view to have that number one contender, have a match against Bray or whatever at some point, but they can do it on a SmackDown. I wonder if like Randy just loses it outright, or if he still has it if he decides to later on go against that or whatever.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's the one thing that we kind of have to think about, because we still got a distance to go before WrestleMania. And if the Viper decides to strike at any given moment, we go right back to that picture we were just talking about. But the way this is all kind of snapped into place and worked with this episode kind of revealing that Orton's with Bray Wyatt to the very end, and this could be very, very different and a picture that we did not come up with, and which may be what they want to do. They may have been getting tired of us all kind of predicting what the role was going to be for each guy, and we keep saying this is the plain picture at WrestleMania. This is definitely going to happen, and maybe they're saying, you know what? We're going to change it up, but this isn't going to be the path. You guys just think you know it. So I kind of honestly like Orton sticking with Bray Wyatt. I kind of like this. I really don't have to see Randy Orton win another championship. That's just not my prerogative. In fact, I would love if Bray Wyatt went into WrestleMania, had a big match against, whoever the big name is, even if it's AJ Styles, I don't care. I just want to see another great match, but I also want to see Bray Wyatt continue holding that championship through WrestleMania and not make him just a flash in the pan, because sure, this title helps him at least on his resume, but man, think about that, Sean. Bray Wyatt goes into WrestleMania and goes out of WrestleMania as the WWE champion. How does that make him look? I think that kind of makes him a little bit more legitimate than they've made him in the past.
Yeah, certainly. It's something that it really pushes this whole thing about Bray Wyatt. He really has a hold on Randy Orton, or Randy Orton's really believing this, and that's the cool thing, right? Is that he's really going on about. Sorry, I'm having to read this thing really quick about something important, but
That's fine.
Yeah, so I think really what the thing is here is, like you're saying, is that this really makes Bray Wyatt's hold on everything be important. In that, okay, he's really got Randy Orton here. He's really got Randy Orton believing in what he's saying. He made that remark at the end of like, oh, now the door is open for you, or like one of those cryptic sayings of his, or whatever, and it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and it almost, in a weird way, I kind of felt like, what is he going to do? Turn around and hand the title to Orton? Not that he's giving up the title, but like, kind of like we're sharing this. Not to go off the Kevin Owens and Jericho thing, nothing silly, but to kind of like saying, this is the Wyatt family. This is our gold. This is who we are, and say, you hold this. It's mine, but you can hold it. And he didn't do that, but I kind of almost felt like he may do that. But once again, I'm not buying into that this is not going to be different, maybe in another 4 weeks. But at this point, the way it's going, I kind of like it. And if they continue this on with Randy Orton not going against Bray Wyatt, I'm down. And this has been very compelling. I mean, Paul has bragged about this every time we've talked about this. He loves the storyline. I love it too. It's one of the best parts of SmackDown. I think all of us can say that. And that brings me to something else I wanted to talk about. Now, I guess we can go ahead and throw this out there before I talk about the other thing. The match itself, I really enjoyed it, Sean. I mean, it was one of those matches that I was kind of like, okay, it's going to get a little silly, but it was very finish heavy. They had a lot of stuff, but it still had a lot of energy. And I appreciated that. There's sometimes they do a main event and the title's not changing hands, so they just kind of play patty cake and they're done. I kind of enjoyed the way they kind of had. I kind of felt like they had a little chemistry here.
Of who?
Oh, the main. I just want to throw out the match because we could probably talk.
Well,
about
yeah, AJ and John Cena have great chemistry already. We already seen that. So. And I think, Bray and Cena have some chemistry already. Yeah, this is kind of like AJ and Bray haven't really had a lot of interactions with each other. So, AJ just works really well with anybody. I haven't seen him really just have even with Jericho, I think that was more of kind of them getting, AJ getting used to the style, and Jericho, I think, has gotten better as a wrestler as he's gone on in this run. I think that was like when he was really first starting to have matches and he wasn't it very good from him. So I agree with you. I think it's not just about chemistry. I think having the Luke Harper be involved there was really good to continue that story of, okay, obviously Harper has a problem with Wyatt, and is he trying to beat the belief back into Bray Wyatt about Randy Orton? Is he just fed up with him as far as not believing him about Randy Orton? what is this? That's still there, and AJ and Cena are always great. So when they have a match with each other, you got the tremendous counters, all the stuff with them, and then you had Bray Wyatt to the mix to be that third person, and I thought it all worked well for the great match they had here to end SmackDown.
Exactly, and the match itself was great, like you said about all the chemistry with all the guys. The Luke Harper thing you just brought up, I love this too. Once again, more intrigue with this Wyatt family. It's not just about Randy Orton anymore now. You still have that process of thinking about Luke Harper. How is he affecting it? Is Eric Rowan going to pop back up in the picture? You just don't know how they're going to do this whole thing. So I just, man, the Wyatt family, it's one of the best things, if not the best thing on SmackDown. And now with Bray Wyatt champion, I mean, it makes it even better. But the one last thing I want to touch on before we do move on, I want to talk to you a little bit about this opening segment, only because the fact that you do see the fans' reactions about you deserve it, all this kind of stuff. Bray Wyatt's cryptic messages talking about Sister Abigail again. I think he did an excellent job. He presented normal Bray Wyatt, but then he also kind of presented a champion's version of Bray Wyatt. I don't think he was just the same. I kind of felt like he added a little extra to it, and so I appreciated that. But man, the fans' reaction to this guy, I mean, at least with this crowd at this arena, would definitely love him. And I think a lot of arenas do like this guy. He seems pretty over right now, at least from the perspective of what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, the thing is, I just want to see it over a prolonged period, because at some point the "you deserve it" chants and all that are going to stop. It's going to be about, okay, what are you doing for me now? And not so much, okay, well, he deserved it, he deserved it, he deserved it. This is coming off the first, show after he wins. That's going to have, we saw it with Naomi, too. How many of those people really care about Naomi in the grand scheme, and when she's actually out of that mold of the "you deserve it," and we're not talking about her winning the title anymore, we're talking about her being champion now and how she looks compared to Alexa Bliss, who still kind of owned her on the microphone on this show, and that's going to be a problem. We've seen it with Samoa Joe, with so many of these other guys, of if you can talk and you look better than the other person, they're going to cheer for that person instead of cheering for the person that they want you to cheer for.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's so much more believable with those people who have great skills when it comes to being verbal and being very real. You can almost feel what they're saying. Those people are going to get the most attention. They're going to be the ones that get the crowd behind them. So I think Bray Wyatt's definitely doing that. But, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. This is one crowd. This is one arena. And I feel like, he is over. But I agree with you on the fact that we need a little bit more time to see this, especially with him as being a champion. You're going to get people's reactions who may not have wanted to see him be a champion. You're going to get people's reactions from various different places that maybe have different feelings about him. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's definitely a babyface because of the flashlights," and that just shows you how much of it. Yeah, part of that is, but part of that's just people playing along. They may not even really like Bray Wyatt, but they're just playing along. They're also thinking about, man, my flashlight's going to be on TV too. So I look at that and kind of take half of that and put it in perspective. But I'm just really, really happy with Bray Wyatt right now. I hope the crowds continue to react like we saw on this show. I don't know if they will, but Bray Wyatt's great. I'm a huge fan. We keep talking about him, but we'll see. This SmackDown really did a good job of presenting Bray Wyatt, and of course, even the whole Randy Orton thing and the match itself. So, to me, this was a win-win part of the show.
Certainly, I think you got that for Bray Wyatt. Because you have to be worried about, okay, when you get out of the crowd that was just at the pay-per-view and just saw him win and all that stuff, are they still going to be chanting for him? Are they still going to be cheering him? Or what are you going to get out of here of, okay, you've got two pretty popular guys against him right now, too. So how are they going to feel about that? How are they gonna react? I mean, I really feel like you got a little bit of that, but again, like you said, it's all about what happens after this show, after you get out of the whole, okay, this is fresh as far as what we just witnessed. This is fresh as far as the crowd and everything. What's going to happen after this? That's the important part at the end of the day. So moving on here from after this, we get we already talked a little bit about Naomi here. So right before we get to the actual match, we had Naomi coming out to have her little celebration of her being champion. As Renee's interviewing Naomi, and she's hurt again. Looks like she's wearing a knee brace, and she apparently didn't even realize she was hurt until she got to the hotel and all this stuff. So it doesn't take her very long, and she kind of just says, "Okay, it took me 8 years to get where I'm at. Now I'm gonna be at home champion because WrestleMania's in Orlando." And Alexa Bliss, makes fun of her injury, and she says that, Naomi kind of lucked out because, if Alexa Bliss would have known that she had the injury, she wouldn't have won. Then Naomi can go have a 30 for 30 about her failure and all this stuff, and, Naomi talks about snatching her right there. And it's whatever, but I thought it was okay, an interchange, or I don't know. I've never really been big on Naomi on the microphone, and Alexa Bliss was, her usual good self. I don't know. I've been okay with this feud. I mean, Alexa's always good on the microphone and everything. I don't know. This is just kind of there for me right now. We'll see how this goes going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this. Naomi is something special for the fact that she's been fighting for so long to get to this point. I'm very happy for her. I really, really am. I even watched some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the backstage things that they had for WWE, showing how proud she was, showing her and her husband. I think it's Jimmy, right? Jimmy's her husband, right?
Jimmy's, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like joking around, like talking about how she didn't even know how to put the belt on and all this kind of stuff. It was really cool. It was nice. You could see how much it meant to her, even how much it meant to Jimmy. That's all great, and that's all dandy. But when you look at business, and really, let's be honest, when they get out there and they're in front of people, this is about business. You have a lot of concerns. As, we sit here with Naomi as champion. Alexa Bliss, like you said, Sean, we know how great she is in the mic. She does that. She may not be the best ever or anything when it comes to ring work. She's good, but, she's not the top notch, and then you look at Naomi, who's okay in the ring, not bad, but not great on the mic at all. So those things kind of interact and don't always have a positive outlook, if you want to look at it that way. I hope this gets better. I hope things work out for them, but them talking is going to do nothing for Naomi. It's just like you said, Sean. It's just going to be a blow away thing every time because Alexa Bliss is just going to,
Well, I mean, in order for you to get better, you need practice, right?
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, the way for Naomi is just, the problem is you don't have anybody for her to wrestle because everybody else is involved in a feud.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're going to do the whole, Nikki came and distracted Natalya and Natalya lost, which, I mean, how many times can you do that? All the women are in a feud. So, and Carmella, you're not going to have her face Carmella 20 times. So what are you going to pull people from NXT just to have her have matches with? This is going to be really just kind of, how are they going to do this for 6 or 7 weeks? Yeah, are they going to involve the other women? Are they going to have their feuds end and we're just going to have a 6-women thing for the title. How are they going to do this? Going forward, or I guess 4 if Nikki's, or 5 if Nikki's going to be doing the thing with Cena. But yeah, just
it's tough. In a way, I kind of feel like it's got to be a multi-woman match because really, you're not going to sell people on just Alexa Bliss and Naomi. It's just not going to happen.
Well, to be fair, they don't have to. They already sold WrestleMania to you on the other matches, so what you do,
I agree with that, but you want it's as stacked of a card as you can get. This is WrestleMania. This is just not throwing things. I mean, sure, you can say, oh, we'll just throw something out. But that's, honestly, just tell me those 2 right there. You know what I'm going to tell you, Sean? I'm going to say pre-show. That's exactly what I'm going to say to you. Oh, that's a pre-show match. Without even thinking about it.
I do have to wonder if they would have both the women's matches on the actual card or not. But then you're talking about, that's kind of messed up when you've got, 6 hours, 7 hours of a show. I mean, the thing is, too, you've already got a multi-women's match that's going to happen with Raw. Are you going to have 2 multi-women's matches?
Yeah.
It's possible that you have, you already got some other things brewing here. You already got a mixed tag. You don't know what you're going to do for the. I don't know if Jericho's going to have that U.S. title when he faces Kevin Owens or not. We already know that Kevin Owens is probably not going to have the Universal title when he faces Jericho. Mm-hmm. So, that's going to be what are they going to do with the U.S. title? Is that going to be a multi-person match too? I mean, so. To me, I feel like SmackDown might be the land where you get a lot of the singles matches. You're probably going to have your Intercontinental title feud be Ambrose and Corbin for 6 months or 6 weeks. And I don't see why you couldn't have Naomi and Alexa Bliss to really try to establish this title as something between the 2 ladies. And I don't know what you can do because there has to be an end to the Nikki and Natalya feud. Seems like it's going to end next week, right? So
I'd hope so.
Is Becky and Mickie James going to end at some point, or are they going to make that a mixed fatal 4-way for the women's title too? There's a lot to happen here in the 6 weeks that they got left. So, but it's interesting there. For right now, we still have the 3 women's feuds. It looks like one's coming to an end, but what's going to happen with the other 2? Especially with what happens between Becky and Mickie James as they have a rematch here, which, I thought this was fine. It wasn't anything, spectacular, whatever, but Mickie James wins. Mickie James, they do that stupid thing where I don't know, I've never been a big fan of this finish. And I know some people might like it, and if you can sell it really well, it is what it is, but I've never been a big fan of the whole, the heel does this stupid thing where they have an injury for a while, and then the face eventually just says, oh, okay, I'm going to go over and see how she is, and guess what? Mickie James, hits her with the mitt kick and wins. So, I mean.
I get that. I really don't have a problem with it because it is a heel thing. It's just like that thumb to the eye, all those kind of things. I mean, to me, it's. I know,
but you're waiting there and waiting there and waiting there, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, why would you get next to her?
I agree. I understand that wholeheartedly, but I also look at other things in wrestling, like why would you just lay there?
Especially now when they call doctors. Especially now when the referee's going, get me a doctor, get me a doctor. Okay, well, get you a doctor. And then Becky gets really close to her, enough for her to hit her, and it's like, oh, come on. It's just, I know what you're saying. There's a lot of dumb stuff in wrestling. But it's just,
yeah, because, I can't stand it when I see dives outside the ring, and you basically see the whole 4 or 5 guys staring at the guy as he runs at him. I'm like, move!
Well, yeah, that's one of those things you kind of have to accept in wrestling because you can't have the guy just land on his face.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I'm just saying it's just part of the thing. But I get it's a pet peeve, and I understand that. Trust me, I have my own, so we can agree that we each have some things. But at the end of this match, it has to work this way because Mickie James needs something. She needs to have some kind of win over Becky Lynch, and you've got to have this for her to continue, for people to take her serious. Once again, I talk about this on our regular show, and every time I'm on the SmackDown review here, Mickie James needs people to know who she is, understand who she is and what she's about, right? Because you got so many new viewers who don't even know anything about her, don't even know anything about her feud with Trish Stratus and all that. So I think this is a really positive thing for them to do. Even if Sean didn't like the finish, I still had a victory for Mickie James, and that's good. And I don't know that I'm loving this Becky Lynch and Mickie James feud. I don't know. I don't. There's something that has not hooked me. It's okay. It's fine. But I want Mickie James to have a bigger match. I want her to have some other cool stuff go on. So maybe that's what it is. But this is a fine finish.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. It got you to the next point, which is, okay, both women have had a win against each other. What are we doing now?
Mm-hmm.
And normally I would complain about 50-50, whatever, but I think this is kind of one of those times you have to do it. Because you can't have Mickie just come back and she's lost twice already. This is a veteran that's trying to prove that she means something here, and you have her lose like that already twice. That's really putting what she's saying into nothingness. Like, why would you want to believe what she says?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. And I like that they came from that perspective of, she's telling her, I've done this, the only reason you're here is because of me and people before me. So that's what's kind of cool too. She's a heel, but she's bringing up some points that, man, you kind of agree with. It's kind of odd. So anyway, I just thought that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, and they, as we mentioned already, they continued the Natty and Nikki thing as well. With Nikki and Natalya are still going at it with each other, and so Nikki comes into Daniel Bryan's office and is like, "Look, this has got to stop." Like, Natalya just keeps brawling with me. She keeps beating me up. I'm getting tired of this, and then Natalya comes in and is like, "Oh my God, you're talking to your brother-in-law again. He's going to give you whatever you want, and you're Cena's girlfriend and whatever." And so Bryan finally books them the match that we said they should have had at the pay-per-view. Falls Count Anywhere on SmackDown next week. Hopefully this is really good, and it could be.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun because of the fact that this has been, kind of weird to say this because they don't do this, but kind of like a blood feud because they completely hate each other. They use all the hateful speech they have in their arsenal. And let's be honest, Sean. I mean, they use a lot of things here that you could perceive as being real thoughts, real feelings. And that's what I love about this. If there's anything I take away from this, it's that. It doesn't even have to do anything with what they do in the ring. I just think that all the verbal spats that they have, as total divas as it is, I still care about it because it's kind of neat to hear, Natalya say, "Oh, damn, Bryan, you're her brother-in-law and you only care about her," and the John Cena stuff and all that. I can actually sit there and enjoy it. I can actually appreciate it. What they do in the ring is fine. It's nothing bad. Like I said at Elimination Chamber when we covered that, I appreciated that they were telling a story in the ring of, you got Nikki trying to prove that she's a wrestler. So they're doing some things here that are very positive, and I did not expect that at all. Let's be honest. With these two, you really don't expect a whole lot. A lot of times they're put in situations where Nikki's a champion just because, and Natalya is always left in the dust. Now you've got these two mixing it up, and it's different. It's not the same as the stuff we usually see him in. So I'm appreciative. I'm excited about seeing what they can do next week. I don't know that it's the end. I would kind of hope it is, but I could foresee them changing it up and making it last longer.
Yeah. It's certainly, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make this last any longer because, they have to at some point tell that story of how you're going to get to the mixed tag that everybody says you're getting to.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get there if you're not ever gonna actually get to the point where Miz gets mad at Cena or Maurice says, "Hey, I didn't like the fact that you blew that powder went in my face," or whatever. How is that gonna happen if you continue to have this story with Natty? So I think they're setting this Falls Count Anywhere match up to it. This is the end.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of the feud. Let's move on to whatever we're gonna do for WrestleMania, and that's it, right? So,
yeah. I hope you're right.
know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that assessment. I just have my fears. There's always that thing in the back of your mind that says, I don't know, they like this a lot. They've been doing this a while. But for the perspective of, they already kind of teased the Elimination Chamber, the Maurice incident, and then this has been the thought process going forward with Miz and Cena, and of course, Maurice and Nikki. So I'm okay with that, and I hope you're right because I'm kind of getting a little weary with the whole, Nikki and Natalia thing. But like I said, I had that little thing in the back of my mind that says maybe they'll extend it. But we'll see. I really do hope next week's the end.
Yeah, let's see if that's what they wind up doing. It seems like that is what they're going to do, but, with WWE, they change their minds so much. It's always we'll have to wait till we get there moment. So another interesting thing here was with Dolph Ziggler. He talks about his attacks on Cruz and Kalisto. He wanted to give the new era the wake-up call. That if he has to wipe out their entire generation, he will, because no one is going to replace Dolph. No one is going to steal his spot. Finally, we get some clarity as to what Dolph is doing, and I kind of like it. It's nothing new. We've seen John Cena do this. We've seen several guys do this about the new era. Sheamus said something about it. But at least we're getting clarity. We're getting some truth to why is Dolph just attacking them.
Yeah, I agree. And, this is not a bad thing, like you said, Sean. They've done this before. But for Dolph Ziggler, a guy that has been a champion.
I just want them to stick with it. How many times have we had guys go, "Oh, I'm attacking the new era," and then they go after one guy and it ends? Like, can we really have a storyline where you have a guy from the older era go after the new era guys, and he actually goes after more than one of them, or two of them in this case? Go after more of them.
No, I can see that point. I just think that at least Dolph Ziggler's doing something, and I hate to be that way, but really, I love Dolph Ziggler. I've been a fan for a long time, but if they can have any direction for him, I'm usually kind of happy. And this is not a bad one because, okay, so in Dolph Ziggler's career, he's been pretty much the underdog all the time. The guy that's got over the hump a few times but always got disappointed. And so sure, this new era is coming, but he has the fears of, I'm an old veteran now. I'm not as young as I used to be, and all these other guys are coming in to get me put out into the street. So this completely makes sense. And if they last a while with it, I think it'd be okay. And if they don't, I don't know. But at least we have a direction with Dolph Ziggler. That's what I'm thrilled about, and they need to continue doing that. I just got to know, the direction that they're going to go with him with now with, supposedly, you got, the two guys you just put on, at least Kalisto may not be on the shelf, but, Kalisto's out. And of course you have Apollo Crews who's supposed to be on the shelf. So going into WrestleMania, that's my question. Who's the next threat to him?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're now going into more of a direction with Apollo and Dolph solo for now. So let's see what they decide to do after that.
So are they actually going to say that, Apollo's able to get over his injury, I guess is what you're saying? Apollo's injury won't last.
Well, I think on Talking Smack they said he avoided like a serious injury or whatever. That he didn't break his ankle or whatever, but he narrowly broke it, almost broke it.
Okay. See, and that's something else. You were talking about earlier about Naomi needing to be on the mic and do her thing to get better. This is another situation. If Apollo Crews is going to have a match, especially at WrestleMania with Dolph Ziggler, this is his best opportunity to get better and to get some of that experience under his belt. Because if you ask me, Dolph Ziggler is one of the best guys to do that with. He can, keep you. He basically protects you when you mess up or do anything. He can make you look good. So I hope this is good if they do stick with Apollo Crews and him together, at least to WrestleMania.
Right. So aside from this, we're going to go to Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin having a thing here as Dean Ambrose is looking for Baron Corbin all over. He runs into James Ellsworth and Carmella talking, as James Ellsworth wants Carmella to accompany him to some kind of dinner for Valentine's, and Carmella's like, we got to keep it fresh, man, I don't know about this. And then Dean comes in and basically tells James Ellsworth what's up. He's like, dude, can I be frank for a second? She's using you, by the way. And so then he and James Ellsworth have a little spat, and Daniel Bryan shows up, and he's like, we have a problem here? And yeah, and so, Dean Ambrose just says, I just want to beat the crap out of James Ellsworth, and Daniel Bryan kind of obliges because he doesn't want Ambrose doing anything crazy, so he sets up this match. Well, that match doesn't happen because Baron Corbin just comes out and drags Ambrose's, almost dead carcass everywhere, and starts beating him up and whatever, so Baron Corbin just continuing to beat up Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, and I appreciate the comedy here with James Ellsworth and Ambrose. It's pretty funny, and it's at least they're doing something with Ambrose and Carmella. It's nothing out in the ring, and they don't have a feud going on, but at least they're around, right? It's so easy to forget about both of them because of the fact that really they don't have just a ton going on. So I'm glad they're still relevant to some point. Ambrose and Corbin, this whole thing is interesting. I think it's a pretty decent feud here. I love the fact that, if they're going to really take Baron Corbin serious and they want him to have a certain image, they've got to do things like this. Because Ambrose is not just a throw-around kind of guy usually, right? He's a tough guy. And for Baron Corbin to hold his own, to come out there and attack Ambrose and, treat him like a little dog, that's a good thing. I think for Corbin, it puts him on an echelon of, this guy is serious and he's no one to mess with. And it really is a good feud. I know there's not a lot to it, not a whole lot of substance, but I think that, down the line, this could be really something special.
Yeah, I really like what they've been doing here with Baron Corbin and Ambrose. I think they work really well with each other because you don't know what's going to happen with Ambrose as far as is he going to go crazy and go do some crazy thing to Baron Corbin, or, how's he going to react to Corbin beating him up and all this stuff. So, interesting things going forward for these guys and how they're going to keep this going for the next, 6 weeks or so, or is this going to is other people going to be added to this? That's, they could always add, Dolph and Apollo to this or something like that too, if they really want to, if they think Dolph and Apollo's not good enough, or they don't want to put him on the pre-show, which is where you'd imagine that match would wind up if that continued that way. But the last thing we got to talk about here, I guess, is the tag team situation. You have American Alpha beat the Ascension. This was a good match, Gable doing his thing, Jordan doing their thing. Ascension looked good here, I think, as they're still trying to do something with the Ascension. At least they're not being jobber teams anymore. The thing is, it's still, I don't know, the fans just don't really seem to be flocking to American Alpha right now. And I wonder if I don't know if it's so much American Alpha as it is they don't believe in anybody else in the tag division really giving them a run for their money. I think it's just kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of boring. We know what they're going to do. They're going to win. And, they're fine wrestlers and everything, but I feel like we don't have the connection that the NXT crowd had. And I think why did the American Alpha have that connection? Because American Alpha had good opponents. Or they had the one really good opponent in the Revival that really put it to them. So they really earned when they won. And, you don't have that on SmackDown right now. You're just trying to promote them as being the best tag team on SmackDown. Well, there's nobody else to really care about. I thought, you're only as good as your dance partner, right? So American Alpha don't have any good dance partners because the Usos come out or they don't come out, but they talked to them on the Titantron about how, well, we've taken you guys out in the past and we're coming. Well, okay, are people going to even care about that?
Yeah, and this is kind of a weird thing because the tag team division on SmackDown is really
it's weak.
It's really
it's really weak.
I know. I hate to say that too, Sean. I really do because I loved American Alpha and NXT. I still enjoy them, but for the fact that they have the Usos, the team, let's be honest, they were doing pretty well for themselves for the longest time. And then they now heels and the people are disinterested. The Ascension were never over on the main roster. And the rest of these tag teams are just kind of there. It just sucks. And it sucks for the fact that they've got some talent. And, and honestly, Heath Slater and Rhino at one point were pretty hot, but then they got away from those guys, and then now there's just nothing to really care about. So, yes, American Alpha is really not doing anything, but that's because they're tied to a weak division. And let's be honest, they have been portrayed as a great young tag team. They have the titles. Outside of that, we don't got much interaction with them. We don't have anything else of substance. We need to feel more. I really feel like if they're not going to add another tag team, which they need to add another tag team, Sean, you talk about this all the time, and I don't know if it's going to happen or when it will or whatever, but if they could just put the Revival in this freaking division, that would be an amazing feud. That would be something of substance to really build.
I just hate that, because I don't believe in this whole I've always believed in, something I've heard, in that the NXT feuds need to be built to on the main roster. You don't immediately go to them. The problem with American Alpha is they have, okay, great, you're going to do this thing with the Usos again for another 6 weeks, or are you going to do another tag team cluster thing, or are you going to just do another open challenge at WrestleMania, whatever? Okay, cool. The problem is, I really hate that you're going immediately to the Revival because you have nothing for them. So it's like, okay, yeah, do you have enough with Alpha and the Revival where they can feud for a long time? Probably. Yeah, you do. We've seen it in NXT, but I just hate that we don't have anything for American Alpha to build to with the Revival on the roster with them. Because there's also no convincing babyface tag teams. Okay, the Revival are going to take out Heath Slater and Rhino for a week, and then that's it. There's nobody. So I just hate it. Like, it's just, okay. Because, here's the problem. Like, for every Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho feud, and that's not really a feud, right? They've been friends, and then you have Owens beat him up, and then, we're finally going to feud, and then you'd imagine that doesn't go past Extreme Rules or Payback or whichever one corresponds to Raw. Like, you know how fans get about long feuds. Is there going to be a way to have this feud be compelling for 3 months, 4 months, or whatever, until they find a way to restock that tag division, if they ever can, because it's not like NXT is just crawling with tag teams right now either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could bring up a good point. And that's the thing is I kind of feel like bringing in the Revival is kind of hot-shotting it because, that can work. But, you've got to have this whole division on par, too. You can't just, do that and then expect great things to come right out of that no matter what. No, you got to add all the other components, all the other tag teams. This is tough. I mean, I really feel like the SmackDown has lost their way with the tag division. I really do. And WWE as a whole is just not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
If it wasn't because New Day was just over as an act, nobody would have ever cared about what the tag team division ever did.
Yeah. And don't you have proof with Luke, the Gallows and Anderson coming out and attacking Roman Reigns? That shows you right there. They're not focused on the tag teams. The tag team champs are out fighting a singles competitor. Come on.
Yeah, so Cesaro and Sheamus are walking around with Bayley half the time, and so
it's just a sad day right now for people who like tag team wrestling. At least in the WWE form. I think right now Ring of Honor and other places are doing way better in that division. But we'll see. I mean, it's tough because once again, I think we have seen so many great things from American Alpha that we want them to succeed. But right now, this is not fair to them in a way because their young career, their division's not getting focused on, and they're not going to get over with anybody because no one cares. I barely care, and I love those guys.
Yeah. It's hard because you really care about them, but nobody else cares about them. So you're like, ugh, I hate it for these guys, but the crowd's kind of right.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you at with a rating for this SmackDown?
This SmackDown, especially post a big pay-per-view and Elimination Rules, I think they did some good things here.
Rules.
Oh my God!
I just mentioned Extreme Rules, and
you did.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Wrong pay-per-view. I mixed them together. Anyway, Elimination Chamber. I love the Bray Wyatt stuff. I think that really did a good thing for him. We just talked about tag teams. That just sucked. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7. I feel like this was not a bad SmackDown. I enjoyed even the little things like the Baron Corbin thing and a few other things here. I think all the women's stuff here was decent. I really enjoyed some of the matches that they had. It may not have been perfect or anything, but at least they were good. So I think a 7 is fair because if I give it a 6, I'm almost saying that they kind of came out flat. I don't think the SmackDown was flat. I just think that they had some weak moments.
Yeah. Certainly. Yeah, that's the thing. There was some weak moments on the show, but I think overall, you had some good things going forward. I still think maybe you had the big match that put it into a stratosphere where you kind of want to watch the show. But I was going to say like a 6. Now there was nothing offensive on the show, but it's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that for SmackDown, and I guess until we see you next week, have a good one, folks, and hope you had a good Valentine's Day, and we will see you next time.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.